Are we live? Real question is, where is my audio coming through? Uh, Presumably we are. Theoretically we are. Hopefully you all can hear me. I don't see the audio button moving up and down, however. My headphones are connected. Should I go to edit? Customization? No. Mic? Mic back active. Oh, you can hear me fine? Cool. Washoe? Board Game Hype, you're a good man. Washoe says you can. This is just a check-in, a quick little live stream. I've been meaning to get back into the cycle of doing kind of purposeful live streams throughout the week. We are slowly getting the channel. I know it doesn't look like it theoretically. Noah Anton, hello Jesse, hello. Doesn't look like the channel is on track, but we are really getting ahead on content and doing very well at planning out the future of it. And so part of that project, part of that objective is starting to do more live streams and checking in and having conversations with people and talking about what we're playing and what we're going to be covering and what you all are interested and excited in, and also talking about kind of where the channel is going to be going moving forward. I've been brainstorming. I have a lot of ideas around the way YouTube works, the way the board game YouTube space works, and what I think is maybe the best thing for us as we figure out how to navigate that and we figure out what type of content provides the most value to the audience when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to backing new projects, and then when it comes to like the long-term cycle of content creation and videos that kind of live online. So we're narrowing that down. I don't know how many people are going to pop in here. This is a random middle of the afternoon live stream, but if you guys have questions or anything, feel free to pop into the chat. I have a few boxes to open. I have a few games that I've played recently. I figured I'd talk about them. And then, of course, I'm really here to interact with the audience. So if you have questions or you have conversations, feel free to toss them in the message, and we'll ignore the boxes and the games and everything else that's going on until I respond. Board Game Hype. Will you be diving more deep into RPG games and content, or will you go back to lists and stuff like that? So I guess I don't know if you're asking about my broader approach to YouTube moving forward, but I have a few theories around the industry and how the industry works, and I have a few thoughts around what type of content will serve us best, will serve the community best, and what type of content I personally am invested in and interested in creating. One of the biggest issues with doing a board game channel that we've been aware of for a long time has been the fact that the content you make on a board game channel, especially one that covers crowdfunding projects, tends to be very shallow. What that looks like in application, and sorry if I sound a little funny, I have maybe the most aggressive spring on a pair of braces they could give you. And so I have an expander in as well. So I am lisping. I have a spring bumping up against my lip. I am hoping next week when I go back to the orthodontist, we actually get some of this adjusted and I no longer sound like I'm speaking with a mouthful of, goldfish when I'm talking. But board game content and board game content channels on YouTube are very wide and shallow, which doesn't really work for growing a very large audience. We can see that displayed in the top creators in our space, creators that have like the Dice Tower and Shut Up and Sit Down and Watch It Played, who've been around for the better part of YouTube's existence. I mean, Dice Tower is something like 18 years old, maybe a little bit less than that. And they're only at 350, 400,000 subscribers, where almost every other specific industry you could think of, whether it's ant farming or playing Pokemon or Magic the Gathering, whether it's doing video games or reporting news like Philip DeFranco, if they've been around on a platform like YouTube for that duration of time, they typically end up having an audience base that's above 1 million at a minimum, which doesn't mean that the board game space has to have that, but it does pose the question as to why we don't see those numbers in our hobby space. And one of the biggest issues we have as content creators, um, is the fact that when we make content about a broad spectrum of games. And so for you all to be watching and engage with our content, you kind of need to be interested in all the stuff coming out, whether it's a new Kickstarter game or, all the new expansions that just released or any of the titles that are historically popular. And most people don't have an interest that's that wide. Most people, when they show up to social media accounts, they really want to narrow in on a single thing. Like Ants Canada, millions of subscribers. He does the best videos I've ever seen around ant farming. Or a guy 2 years ago started a goldfish tank in his dorm room, and after 2 years of creating content around fish tanks, was flying around the world looking at koi ponds. For them, their content is really deep. So their content has a very big potential audience and a very big group of people that are like, yeah, I'm interested in goldfish, or I'm interested in Pokemon, or I'm interested in, whatever it is. But they don't have a very shallow range. They have a very deep range, but not a very shallow range, where board games is the exact opposite. So if you come to a YouTube channel, like a Pokemon channel, and you're a nerd and you're a hobbyist and you're like, hey, Pokemon's great, right? And I agree with you. And we're talking about Pokemon in the first video you ever watched. And then you come back a week later and we're still talking about Pokemon. And then a month later, you subscribe to the channel. And every time you check in with my channel, I'm talking about Pokemon the whole time. In the board game space, that's not how it works. A new audience member shows up and they're talking about Catan. They're like, I love Catan. I just discovered it. Awesome game. And I agree with you. I respond to you. I say, yeah, you're right. Catan's an amazing game. One of the first games I came into the hobby through. And they go away and they come back a week later and they're like, Catan, right? We bonded on that. That's where we were working. We were negotiating together. We were talking about board games. It was going to be good. And I'm like, no, not. What about Wingspan? Not Catan, but Wingspan. We're talking about Wingspan now. And they're okay with that. They'll try out Wingspan. They're open to playing it. It's good stuff. And then they go away and they come back a week later. They've subscribed to your channel by now because Catan and Wingspan, great games. And they bring back, they're like, hey, Catan, Wingspan, right? We're going to talk about these two games that I've been playing that I love, that all I need. And my response as a content creator in the board game space is, I'm never going to make a video about Catan or Wingspan again, but I'll tell you what, I will talk about the new Kickstarter project, and I'll talk about a great social deduction game, and I'll talk about every other title that's just arrived. And it's very shallow. You have to be interested in Kickstarters or board games as an omni branch, but there's not a lot of depth to it. Whereas things like game design, things like D&D, things like Magic the Gathering, things like Pokemon have a wider group of audience members who are just like, I don't need to know everything about Pokemon, but I kind of want to check in every now and then and watch some people open packs. So I'm subscribed to some Pokemon channels, and I don't watch all their content, but when I do, I know I enjoy them and I know what I'm going to be getting. For board game content creation, that's not always the case. And there's arguments around personalities driving the attention. And there's arguments around entertainment value, like No Rolls Barred and Will Wheaton, from completely blanking, Tabletop. Those were awesome approaches to how you can not focus on the board games as much as the people that are playing them. And I think they've done those things very well. But the larger breadth of board game content creation suffers from this approach. And so for our channel, we're trying to look at what can we do to communicate clearly and thoroughly with our audience around content that provides value, that's still on a wide range of games, but in a way that makes it as accessible as possible for them to watch our stuff. And I think we're going to be unifying our thumbnails quite a bit, making every video very identifiable. So if you come to Quackalope because you specifically enjoy watching us, do a playthrough and a review, that'll be very, very clear to see. It'll, gameplay review, it'll be right there in the title. Or if you like our Kickstarter coverage and that's what you're here for, that'll be very, very clear to see. And as we continue limiting the amount of diverse content we do and refining the content we do, hopefully we'll be able to connect with an audience and communicate with an audience more efficiently and more effectively than we have in the past. It's an interesting puzzle, though. Will we be doing D&D and RPG things here? I don't think so, but I do want to start doing more D&D and RPG things. So I've started the last month, after being on Adderall for a bit. I've started hosting a Tuesday night game night here in Cleveland, which has been great. We had 11 people through the house yesterday. The week before, we had a 7-player game of Scythe, and I played Lords of Vala with 3 people, and we had another person float in and hang out. Last night was Terraforming Mars. We had 3 Terraforming Mars games that happened. I ran the 4-player beginner game, and I lost to the beginners, which was awesome. Shira played in the advanced game and held her own, but she also failed to get the victory. And then we were up until about 2 a.m. finishing a game of Innis, which was an epic game. We had one moment during the game of Innis that I'll show you the picture here because we had to snap one. I'll put it up on social media at some point, but we had one moment where every single one of us had a victory condition possible. Now, I didn't strategically get there. Shira happened to put me in a position where I could win. I didn't win, for the record, but it was one of the most epic endings. If you know the game, you can pause it there and take a look. But 4 players, every one of us had claimed a victory potential. I'm going to check the comments and see what people have been saying to my ideas. So Frederick said, "Hey, Jesse, how's it going? Curious, do you still happen to have any news about Storm Sunder?" I think I know what that game is, but let me check. Storm Sunder. I always doubt my own knowledge of names. Why is BGG not working? Let's see here. Storm Sunder, Heirs of Ruin by Lazy Squire Games. I don't believe I have any knowledge about this, and I don't think I covered Storm Sunder. Maybe I did. I don't think I did, though. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. It would have been a while ago if I had. Frederick said he did promise Madara. I have Madara coming on the way. We started playing through a recorded campaign last week. We have the first 2 initial gameplays done. We're hoping to get a few more done this week or next. We're really loving it so far. It took a little bit to get it up and running. It's a heavy game, and we've got our 6 cameras angled at it here in the studio. But we have Madara content rolling out soon. Tabletop Family, Omni Gamers is its own demographic. Yeah, so I agree with you, and I think that's who our audience largely is in the board game space. But when you look at what gets the widest breadth and builds the strongest community, the Omni Gamer category is a very limiting category. I mean, if someone was doing a YouTube channel just on Monopoly, I think they'd be able to build a larger general fan base and community, and get probably more significant views, which is part of the puzzle here on YouTube. But of course, they wouldn't be talking about all the stuff that we're invested in, right? None of us would be interested in Monopoly, and I have no interest in, producing a Monopoly only channel. That's not. But I think it is important to identify what is best for the platform and what interests you as a creator and what interests the viewers that you have, and then try to figure out the best way to service those. So I'm not arguing for switching content, but I am trying to streamline and be very purposeful about the way that we move forward with content and how we're communicating through thumbnails and through titles and through descriptions, and how we reach out to an audience that maybe isn't always into every game available, but is interested in seeing some of them, or interested in watching through a campaign. I don't want to lose people in the race to cover everything. Is sort of the puzzle that we're trying to solve. Frederick says, well, I guess Brahmithra sees things differently. Can you tell me what Brahmithra sees? He covers primarily KDM content, I believe, which makes sense. I mean, if that's his game and he's focused in on it, then KDM and KDM adjacent content would, I think he could find a pretty good, healthy community from that. Eyes Narok, because it's just one thing, board gamers flit about too much and don't focus on one game. It depends on the board gamer. You have to remember, I mean, a lot of us have favorite games that we dive into consistently. I mean, some of the biggest communities that I have come from videos that we've done on Root and videos that we've done on Kingdom Death. And, evergreen games or big titles like that actually drive a lot of the fan base when it comes to the core YouTube algorithm comes to the core audience. And then there's a big pocket of us like myself who want to back everything and want to play everything and don't really hone in on a single game. And it's the balance of that that becomes complicated because you do lose quite a lot of people in the process of producing such a diversity of content. Tabletop family, board game reviews are informative first, not entertaining. That's why you don't see channels for reviewers over 1 million. But that's not the case when you think about other products that get reviewed. For instance, look at Book Talk or the video game industry, or we have Amazon reviewers, we have people that are doing like unbox therapy. There's lots of categories of people, tech reviewers, and yeah, there's a bigger base audience there than there is in the board game space. But part of what they're effectively doing is they're effectively communicating with the audience what you're going to get every time you show up to their channel. And so a book reviewer, there's many of them who have hundreds of thousands and many of them who have millions of reviewers, and they're fairly nuanced in what they're covering, but they're consistently providing information on what they're reading and on a category of books. And they, I think, have done it a little bit more effectively than what we have done in the board game industry. So again, it's not about criticizing the industry, but it's about trying to understand where we can do better when it comes to our operational, our operation as creators, when it comes to the audiences that we're serving, when it comes to the platform that we're working on. And every platform has its own its own context, the way that the way that it operates. Like for instance, the stuff I do on Kickstarter, we get views on that immediately. We might get 5,000-6,000 views on a single video for a Kickstarter game that came out, but about a week after those videos come out, for myself and almost everyone in the space, they really don't exist anymore. No one really clicks on them because they're so timely. They're very specifically Kickstarter based. And when it comes to the YouTube algorithm, that hurts our channel overall. That initial view count and some of the subscribers we get from that is good, but the long-term application of that is we have a lot of videos that are kind of dead on the platform. Whereas videos that are more catered towards serving the community, rules that we've missed, how to plays, quick start guides, reviews and gameplays, those things typically have longer runs. And some of them tend to spike when a new game comes into cycle or a reprint becomes available. You'll see those views and that engagement go up. And if we're crowding out that audience, we're crowding out the audience that's there for helpful advice and for guides and for knowledge, with stuff like Kickstarter coverage, we're sacrificing one for the other, and the balance of that is the thing that we're thinking through. Tabletop family, Games for Two have millions of shorts of them playing games because it's entertaining. Yeah, Games for Two is actually a great example of a couple who's done something kind of unique in our space. They came from TikTok originally, I believe, and they have all these shorts and they get tons and tons of views, but you know exactly what you're getting when you're coming to them. You're getting a couple, I think a husband and wife, playing some interesting application of a dexterity game and some take on things that modern communities relate to, whether it's tic-tac-toe or Connect Four or Ice Cool. And all of these are much more approachable than our big box CMON games or our Kickstarter exclusive projects. And I think they would be an example of being a very reliable channel in our space, despite covering a wide breadth of stuff. Their content's very consistent and very similar to the other videos they've made and to why people would have subscribed in the first place. Jordan Avenko, any favorite BG events or meetups in the Cleveland area? I was a playtester at Protospiel Recess Games recently, and it was really enjoyable. I haven't done a lot of events in the board game area. Jordan, if you live around here, like I said, we have a Tuesday night game night. If you want to send me an email or get a hold of me, maybe across Facebook or something, I'd be happy to add you to our group and have you come hang out. We've got, I think, 30 people in our group so far, and like I said, we're averaging 10 or so people a Tuesday at the moment, and we're continuing to grow. I wanted to go to Protospiel. It's a little bit hard when my wife and I were both Orthodox Jews, and we keep Shabbat, and so we go offline Friday night and Saturday, and it's a little bit hard to get out to weekend events like that. And so there's some game stores here that I think are really great. Got a lot of games has one of the best Kickstarter kind of hard to find game selections that I've seen from any board game store. But I haven't spent a lot of time out in the board game community here. Um, Isaac Croc, like more depth on the games you love will promote growth. Yeah, that's more of the thought. And then Frederick says, yeah, exclusively. Oh, he's responding to Baramithra. So Isaac, that's part of the thought, right? We want to be able to support a longer range of content on very specific titles, and that's something that I think we've done to a degree and also not done very effectively. So things like Root, like we have a big fan base from the coverage that we did from Root back in the day, and we continue to get good views on all those videos, but we haven't got a group together to play Root in ages. And continuing to support and continuing to put out that content is valuable, or getting more consistent on our Kingdom Death content and putting out more supportive content around that as the time goes on. All of that is super valuable to building and having a core fan base. But on top of that, we need to be able to clarify and display to that audience what each one of our videos are, because I'm concerned about consistently doing Kingdom Death and having a Kingdom Death fan base, but them not being interested in the other 5-6 videos we put out a week. And if we're crowding out and they're accidentally clicking on and engaging with content that's not interesting to them, then we might lose them along the way. And so clarifying our thumbnails, really honing in on what our series are and kind of building forward is one of the things I'm spending a lot of time behind the scenes thinking about right now. And hopefully I'll start executing on that kind of over the next few weeks. Frederick was saying that Baramithra does Kingdom Death exclusively, and yeah, it is hard to do one exclusive game in the board game space as well. I mean, the reality is that the fan base for Kingdom Death still isn't the size of Pokemon or Magic, clearly. And so you can have a really good dedicated community around Kingdom Death, and I think that's worthwhile, but the long-term growth potential of that is capped, right? Just like the way I can look at I can look at Dice Tower and say my growth potential is capped at wherever they are, because if we're doing a very similar thing to what they're doing and they have 18 years ahead of us in the industry with any number of dead subscribers, there's not much of an opportunity for us to surpass them without doing something different or unique. And so for Kingdom Death, you can look at the number of games that have been sold and the number of backers that have it, and you'll get some percentage of those. So it's kind of a dance. You can have a really dedicated fan base, and maybe they'll be able to support him enough on Patreon and stuff like that for it to justify the time that he's putting in. But it is a narrow focus. You have to love board games, and you have to love the game you're covering if you're going to do that. You have to love board games in general if you're going to be in the hobby space at all. Frederick said, okay, I thought your point was that was not the best approach to grow. At least it goes against your view of what you're trying to do with your channel. So yeah, so like I was just explaining, it isn't necessarily the best approach to grow. He is limited by the amount of people who have Kingdom Death or are interested in Kingdom Death. And so the board game space is its own interesting puzzle. I do think covering a wider range of games might still be the best option. But if someone just wanted to grow in the board game space, I would probably encourage them to cover games that are available in wider distribution. And I would encourage them to focus on supportive content for families and people that are going to be getting those games. Would probably be my argument. And so things like Wingspan, Root, Scythe, those would be the big box versions of that you could compare yourself to. And then outside of that, you're talking like anything that's on the shelf in Target or Walmart. Those might be the things that you want to hone in on and cover if you want just to attract new gamers to your channel, or just do Catan. Like, Ticket to Ride has sold, 1 million+ copies. So you have the opportunity to get some percentage of that to your channel if that's the aim. Game Brigade, cheers. I'm going to read your next comment and skip over other people, but I'll go back to them. Don't worry. Game Brigade says, that is one of the most difficult aspects of the channel, covering multiple games and people sub for one game, and you might not talk about it for another year. Yeah. So that's the thing. That's one of the things we're really thinking about. I want to bring our channel down to probably about 5 identifiable series. And of course, we have the 2 channels. So we have Quack & Co., we have Quackalope. And I want to identify 5 categories of videos that we produce with identifiable thumbnails for each one of those channels, and try for the next year or so to not really break away from that. And if that means a video idea doesn't fit one of our channels, like we might produce it in a different way, or we might put it on a different platform or share it with another creator. But I want to hone in and make what we're creating for the community a little bit more focused. And so stuff along the lines of how to plays and rules you might be missing, and then gameplays and reviews, list videos, so top 10 and keeping it consistent, top 10, and then if you look on both of those channels, Quack and Co and Quackalope, you can see me already starting to do a little bit of repetition in our thumbnail design. And so I'm figuring out that balance now. And I'm hoping to have wider conversations with the community and get feedback on what's working for them, what isn't working for them, kind of as we do this. The comments that I skipped, Al said, Versos, just passing by, loved Indonesia stream. Hope to see more Splatter games, maybe Indonesia repeat with the next print coming. I'd love to get Indonesia to the table with a bus reprint on the way. I actually want to make a bus how to play and some supportive content around that. I figure we should have that, considering it's still in my #1 slot right there. So Splatter is high on our radar, but they're hard games to cover. Jordan, awesome. Thank you. I'll send over a message. I keep Shabbat as well. And def a bummer when events are limited to that time. Yeah, it's a bummer and it's not a bummer. We're not really doing any conventions this year, I don't think. And part of the reason for that is we're setting up our family. Both Cher and I we're in our first year of marriage, and I wouldn't want to get into the habit of missing an opportunity to have Shabbat by the family and Shabbat by her for the sake of going and trying to do business at a convention. It's a hard question, right? It's a hard balance. But as we kind of are talking through it, it comes down to, is there anything that I'll gain by sacrificing a Shabbat and still keeping it, but keeping it in a different way, keeping it in a hotel room, or, being much more limited in how I can connect with people? Is there anything I'll gain from that that I wouldn't be able to gain in a different way? And I don't think so. And so I wouldn't trade Shabbat for anything. I understand the feeling, like I don't get to go to see some great comedians this summer with one of my friends because Shabbat ends so late. And I would like to see those comedians, but I wouldn't trade Shabbat for anything else. Let's see here. I'm not telling you my name. Okay, good. Yo, dude. Just went all in on Dale of Merchants collection and been watching your gameplay videos. Appreciate them. So here we have like Indonesia, Dale of Merchants. I haven't talked about those games in so long, and yet we have people here that's where they connected with us through. I hope you really enjoy those games. Those have been some favorite of ours for a long time. Sugakia, hi Jesse. Hello Suga. I hope you're doing well. Jordan, yes, send me a message. We've actually got a lot of Jews in the group, and we've got some non-Jews in the group as well. So, Frederick, I do agree with you, but as you can probably tell, I also love KDM content, but I am chomping at the bit for your Madara content. We'll have both coming very soon. We don't, we let go of our editor around October, so I'm still getting back into the flow of keeping up with all the content we have to create, and things like the Kingdom Death videos with all the inlaid cards and stuff is quite a process. It's a lot to do. By the way, our West, who is part of the channel for a long time, is doing awesome. He just helped run the Level Up event that happened, and he's working with an amazing publisher and working on some games that are going to be coming out later this year. He'll be visiting in about a week and a half, and so we are very happy with where he is. And our editor has had 3 or 4 videos on his own channel, Evan Monsma. He's had 3 or 4 videos in the last 6 months go viral. And so around the time that we were running out of the ability to kind of keep staff on fully, he was starting to really take off on his channel. And so I'm super excited. He just hit 12,000 subscribers. He's growing faster than he'll pass me probably in this next year. And his content's some of the best out there when it comes to maker and creator type stuff. And so I am really, really proud and really, really thrilled for what he's doing. So we didn't abandon anyone. Everyone's doing well, and I'm really happy for them. Let's see here. Hi, highly appreciate all the videos you're posting. Have just watched some of your ISS Vanguard videos yesterday. I'm expecting the full wave delivery soon. Thanks for the 10 things to know. You're welcome. I think that video has been good overall. For those of you who don't know, we posted an ISS Vanguard. We posted one that was helpful, and then we posted one that was all the stuff we did wrong in our first campaign. And then we clarify at the end of the video, but some people have been confused by that. We had a lot of fun with it, though. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. I'm glad we were able to put out a series of videos around there. I'd love to dive back into ISS Vanguard. I don't know that I have a full second wave being delivered, though. Interesting. I'll have to look. Especially the X things to know before playing is a great concept. Yeah, so some of the videos that we're focused on here on the channel, gameplays and reviews paired together are going to be a big thing. I think we're going to bring back our Right For You, Wrong For You series pretty focused. That'll be one of the core things that we do, because that's consistent content that I think has done well and people have really responded to. And then I don't want to do how to plays necessarily. I think my goal is to do 10 things to know before playing, or 10 rules you might miss, that type of video that gets people a little bit more established on some of the nuanced things as they play. And then I really want to do a series that I'm kind of coining quick start guides. We play so many games that I always wish there was an option other than watch it played for how to play videos, or other people's gameplays, because he does the best, but he also produces the full thing. And if I already know the game, like Root, I know it pretty darn well, but I don't know it perfectly. And we played a lot of games in between the last time we got Root to the table, or Innis last night. Like, I know it pretty well, but not enough to actually play it without looking at the rule book again. And so I want to get a video series that's in that 10 to 12 minute range that focuses on teaching someone the game who's played it recently enough that they pretty much know how it flows, and they know where to check in the rule book for any of the nuanced stuff they might run into during the course of play. Really, the concept is, if you've played it once with someone else, or you're trying to get it off the shelf and you don't want to sit and read the rule book entirely, again, like, how can we help support people like me who have a wide knowledge of games, but maybe haven't played them enough to know them perfectly, or have played other things in between. Let's see here. Dur says, when playing big board games like ISS, Frosthaven, Tainted Grail, this really helps. When engaging in such games, I would not want to miss hours of play for bad choices. Yeah, you'll let us experience the hours of play, and then we'll let you know all the bad choices we made. Suga says, I just got my copy of ISS Vanguard. I watched your videos on it, and I can't wait to dive in and see what I uncover. Have a lot of fun. There are some things that we missed that maybe should be a little bit more obvious in the game system. So if you don't watch our videos, or you don't remember our videos, take a look at some of your tech cards as you progress. Frederick, I have to say, I do miss the collab between you and Alex. Never understood why you guys stopped, and not my business to know either, but that dynamic was great. Yeah, it's part of the nature of the industry, and part of the nature of personal life mixed with content creation and sort of the whole range there. I think Alex has done an incredible job with 56,000 subscribers at this point, and continuing to grow. I think he's probably one of, if not the best voices in the industry when it comes to Kickstarter coverage and kind of what's coming out. And I still enjoy, checking in and seeing what his thoughts are on whatever prototype he's covering. And so, yeah, I appreciate it. I enjoyed our collaboration a lot as well. I thought we made some really good content, and I'm looking forward to continuing to branch out and continuing to bring people in, and continuing to collaborate in whatever whatever way I'm able to. Tabletop Family, 15 days, Killennium. Yeah, I'm not going to pay $5,000 for. We don't have the budget for that. I'm very excited, and I'm hoping we get one of the early when we go to buy it, we get one of the early copies in, so we can cover it as quickly as possible. If Brahmiswar gets to it before us, we'll be put to shame. Marty Cruz, tuning in from California. Love your content. Thanks so much, Marty. I really appreciate it. Let us know what type of content you connect with here. We've been talking a lot about the YouTube channel and sort of what type of stuff we're going to be making going forward, and how we can communicate with the audience better. So I'd love to hear what out of our wide range of stuff you tune in for. Jordan, actually, it's a good question for everyone. Like, let me know what you watch and what you don't watch. Like, what do you click on? Because we have a lot of stuff that we produce now, and I want to hone that in a little bit. And part of these conversations is getting a sense of what makes someone decide to click on a video that we've posted as opposed to not. Let's see here. Oh, Marty Cruz removed his message, so maybe we didn't want to talk about. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't enjoy my content. He second guessed it. He thought I was someone else. He's like, oh no, he's the duck. We should not post that publicly. Jordan, oh, absolutely. Shabbat is one of the best elements in my life. More of a challenge at times living in a society on a different schedule. Yeah, one of the coolest things about being when I was at Or Sameach, I was in Israel for 5 weeks, and Jerusalem goes quiet. You know, you can hear it's a city, and over Shabbat, over the Sabbath, you can hear wind and people singing in buildings, and it was the thing that made me the first Shabbat in Jerusalem made me fall in love with it by far. I'm getting a call from Evan, my editor. I'm going to answer it. Hey, Evan, you are on speakerphone on a live stream.
Oh, cool. What's up?
So I was just telling everyone about how amazing your channel is, how you hit 12,000 subscribers and growing, how you're probably going to pass me within the next year, and how remarkably excited and proud of you I am. So you can go back. I was literally just saying this. You can go back and dig it up if you want to hear words of affection without being on the phone.
That's awesome. That's very
your last video. His last video, everyone, was on building a new tool shelf. He was redesigning his tool shelf and incorporating things. And man, I didn't click on that video for the whole day. I'll be honest, like the thumbnail didn't get me and the title didn't get me. And I thought to myself, like, I'll watch it eventually because it's you. And then just maybe 2 hours ago, I clicked on the video and I watched it, and you had me mesmerized for the entire 12-minute build, dude. Like, it was so good. The way that you were incorporating footage and stories from when you were 12 years old, filming in front of the same bookshelf, and bringing that into the project you were making. Yeah, I loved it. So everyone, Evan Monsma, EvanMonsma. He's doing really good stuff. So what were you calling about, though? Hopefully you're not, horribly angry with me or anything. That'd be awkward.
No, I was calling to check in. I was maybe going to come over today if you're not busy.
Yeah, I'm filming. Today wouldn't be a bad day if you wanted to come over and look through some equipment and touch base. So.
Okay. Yeah, I might. How much longer are you going to be streaming?
Oh, I'm for as long as the conversation goes. Evan popped into the stream, so everyone click on his profile and go support him because he does really good stuff. I'm just really we're having a conversation about YouTube and sort of the future of the channel. I've been meaning to do more live streams, and so kind of inspired by you. Evan always does his weekly video, and then he does a live stream with his community talking about that video. Is it Thursdays, Evan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Thursdays, and he's been doing that consistently, and I've been really so this is kind of in response to how good he's been doing. I figured I should just buck up and do a live stream. So.
Nice. Well, if I come over at 6:30, does that work?
That'd be great. Yeah, I should be around.
Awesome. Well, I'll talk to you then. I won't interrupt the live stream anymore.
Cool. All right.
All right. Peace.
See you, man. Bye. All right. So where were we? Remind me where we were. Marty had just deleted his comment. Jordan says he loves Shabbat. Elementology 08, have you done a top upcoming Kickstarter games for 2024? So I have done that. It is my most anticipated list, maybe a few weeks ago. I have my top upcoming arrivals, both indie and big game publishers. I have those lists written out, and I need to just sit down and film those videos. So we should have more of those coming as well. Frederick, on another front, I'm worried about Wave 3 of Darkest Dungeon, hoping it comes in for Q2. Sorry for all other Mythic Games backers who are having issues with other games of theirs. Yeah, Mythic Games situation is sad, and man, it's a lesson for publishers. It's terrible for backers. It's hurt, I think, the reputation of the industry across the board. There's a lot of people that have been affected and are pretty sensitive about the whole thing for good reason. I mean, we of course, we've lost some money on pledges, but we also have a different context for sort of why we back games and what we get out of the industry. So I don't think it affects us as much as it affects that, the person who is that was the game they backed. That was the big game they were going to be supporting. I'm glad Mythic has purchased the company. I think they'll be able to deliver good products and hopefully do as right by the consumer as they can. But the rolling funds caught up to Mythic around 2020, and yeah, I don't know. I haven't been paying close attention. I know King of Average has been doing really good coverage on this. I think pretty balanced coverage on it, honestly. I watch his content every now and then, checking in on what's going on with Mythic, and I think he's also in contact with them, I believe. I've had no point of contact since everything kind of happened. I don't even know that the people that we'd talked to a few years back even are even still there. I'm not sure. I hope everything delivers that's supposed to still deliver. I don't know. I have no context for it. I think they're out of money completely, right? Like that's what everyone seems to assume. Frederick says, laugh out loud. Tabletop Family says it's 9,000 full. It's about accurate. That's a reasonable price for Kingdom Death, though. Butcher Vignettes, my guess, 85 to 110, probably more than Giga Lion, but less than the Black Knight. I would think so. Yeah, I think you're right. It's for sure the Butcher Vignette. That's what they've been working on. They were hoping to have it at Gen Con or for Black Friday this year, I believe. And so, yeah, I think 85 to the 100 price tag. It's been great marketing, though. We've had the communities have had a lot of fun talking about them continuing to increase the price. Sorry, I missed parts due to the internet reconnects and stuff. What do you think about Madara? If I have the choice to start Madara or something like Frosthaven, ISS Vanguard, etc., what would you recommend? So I'll answer each one of these. Madara has some really fun character builds, has a really fun story if you like JRPGs. It's a little, the writing is not always perfect in terms of the storytelling. And sometimes you get that with JRPGs and manga and other things like that. Sometimes it's a little over the top, but I enjoy that. I like the obtuse. I would play Madara if I was looking for a really compelling and fun, like 2-player, with a lot of different skill trees and a lot of cool little customizable abilities and a really good deep story. I would play Frosthaven if I was looking for a really honed in card mechanic system. Gloomhaven's famous for it. Frosthaven follows up on that with really interesting strategic play, but maybe not as good of a story. I know quite a few people have been disappointed with the development of Frosthaven over the course of playing it. Didn't capture as many people like Gloomhaven did. And then ISS Vanguard, of course, is going to be a theme thing, but it also has more of a branching technology tree. And so in Gloomhaven, you're playing a hero. Madara, you're playing a hero. ISS Vanguard, you're playing a crew. And so if you like the idea of exploring space and going through a very good narrative as well, but you're building and establishing a colony and a ship and traveling and surviving, but the individual characters don't matter as much. That would attract me. If I was gonna choose between the three of them, solely for myself, I think right now Madara would be the pick. I'm really enjoying it. And I've really enjoyed ISS Vanguard, and I've really enjoyed Frosthaven. They're all excellent games. But I think I would swing just slightly towards Madara at the moment. But it also depends largely on who I'm playing with. I don't think I'd play Frosthaven by myself. I would play ISS Vanguard by myself. I think I'd have a really good time doing that, actually. And Madara, I want to be at 2 players. So, yeah, they're very close, though. Evan says hi. Go subscribe to his channel. Frederick, I'll click on the KDM. Oathsworn, Madara, Storm Sunder, Bard Song, and Darkest Dungeon. The only one that doesn't fit the pattern is Darkest Dungeon. So you know at least what genre I will click on. So you're looking for the big campaign-based, expansive games, a little bit of grimdark, all the stuff that I like a lot. Frederick, thought about jumping in to Tainted Grail, but going all in on that one was too much for now. I'm really excited for the next wave of Tainted Grail to get in. I will say this, Frederick, I think just the next wave of it, even the core box next wave, is going to be better than all the previous Tainted Grail content. And I love the original Tainted Grail. Lego watching from Northern Ireland. Hello from Ohio. Frederick deleted a message. Tom, when do you get your braces and retainer out? I know it's terrible, isn't it? Like the whistle that I have. So look at that. You see? So I had that tooth back there. My father, my sister, my family all have that little hook tooth in the back, and so they've uh, put a spring in to spread those teeth out. And next Monday, I believe they'll hopefully be incorporating all that in and pulling everything forward and straight. Um, After that, we're maybe another month or two from getting the bottom row of braces on. And when I get the bottom row on, I will remove the expander that's in the roof of the mouth. And the expander is really the thing that makes me whistle as much as I do. It gives me the lisp. The braces in the spring, it just always kind of bumps up there. It's pretty extreme at the moment, and so it's just always kind of in the way. Suga, I saw West at Level Up and played Sidereal Confluence with him and a friend group. Hope you can make it next time if possible. Yeah, we're really hoping. Level Up's one of those conventions we'd really love to make it out to. We love the crew out there and the people that are behind the scenes kind of running the show. And so we're hoping next year we can actually go. Around the Stump Games. Oh, I missed the notice you went live. Thank you for being here. Either way, I appreciate it. Around the Stump Games does some awesome content. We should have some videos running away from terrifying bears for him sometime soon. Al says, you ever think about making a Kickstarter for your channel? I have thought about it. I thought about doing, let me know how terrible of an idea this would be, but I mean, I'm not really going to do this, I don't think. I've had two ideas for Kickstarters. One of the ideas I had was running a Kickstarter that was the epitome of bad Kickstarters. So doing all the things that publishers do that they shouldn't do, horrible margins and dumb rewards that just aren't possible and stretch goals that are, out of the world and rewards that you never get, just blatantly breaking every rule that people hate and doing it as a way to kind of fundraise for the channel, and hoping that the audience gets the joke. We won't be doing that. And I thought about doing a Kickstarter titled something along the lines of Defund Quackalope, where the entire premise of it would be if we raise X amount, and get X amount of support, we will, spend the next year, the next season of the channel taking absolutely no money from any publishers in the industry at all. Because there's that balance, right? It's hard to do this full time, and also be able to pay and cover your expenses. And so there's really three ways that we get support on the channel. We have a Patreon community that we're very grateful for and planning some new and unique content for them. We have ad revenue from YouTube, which right now is about $300-400 a month. So you think about all the content we're putting out and the time that goes into the content we produce and all the content we've produced in the past, all of that accumulates to about $300-400 for us. I know at the top end, we've been maybe at $1,200-1,500 when we were putting out around 2 videos a day for a while. And I've seen some other channels that, have got up into the $2,200-2,500 range, but again, they're putting out a lot of content for that. And so, the third way is by doing Kickstarter previews, gameplays, commercial stuff for publishers. And so one of the ideas I did have was being one of the only channels of our size who publicly and aggressively took a step back from the financial complexity of the board game industry. I would like to do it, but I think it might open the door to. I think it has as much opportunity to be successful as it does to be misinterpreted, and I'm trying to not stir up trouble in the industry, because it's never really been my goal. My goal has always been to do good content and create and build community. And so now that I'm, I got a diagnosis, I have access to medication, and I'm a lot more. I have the capacity now to invest and connect with people and be a little bit more organized, a little bit more consistent than I really have ever had in the past. And so the next year for the channel is really focused on building back relationships with the community that we have, building back relationships with content creators, reconnecting with publishers, and figuring out how we can best serve them, specifically focused on the kind of indie game, the smaller publisher side of the industry, because we have a heart for them. I like entrepreneurial people, and I want to see people succeed. And then also figuring out, of course, how to make Quackalope something that's sustainable for a long time, because we're still in that middle ground of my Shira went back working full time. I'm kind of on the edge in between really needing to go do something else and being able to continue doing Quackalope. And we let go of Evan and we let go of West, and they're both in really good positions now, and I'm thrilled for them. But that was a big change for us, and so the next year is really about figuring out what the next steps are and figuring out how to rebuild community and rebuild relationships. And one of the things that I'm trying to be intentional about related to that is not doing things that invite miscommunication, or not doing things that invite controversy, even though it can be beneficial at times, and we've certainly played with it in the past. Yeah. So let's see here. What else do we have? Thought about doing a Kickstarter for your channel. Tom says, any chance of you doing a live play of Crimson Scales? Yeah, a big chance, Tom. We need to get a copy of Gloomhaven. We have 3 copies of Frosthaven and no copies of Gloomhaven, so I need to do that first. And then I'm hoping to do a series of content around Crimson Scales, specifically leading up to the campaign that's going to be run by the fans that created that original ridiculous expansion. It's actually sitting right up there under Roads and Boats. And so, I'm very much intending to do a run of content for them. West works for them. That's our bias. But we have no, we're not sponsored by them, or we're not doing any paid advertising. It's their first campaign. So Quackalope has a policy, and we've had a policy since first entering the hobby of not charging first-time publishers for content creation to the best of our ability. And so when I first entered this space, there's a lot of content creators and crowdfunding guides and stuff that make a lot of their money off of the indie publishers, the people who are spending all of their own money and sacrificing all of their own time and mailing games out of their garage. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to be able to partner with people like, Simon and Steamforge, and we wanted to be able to be a service and not a drain on new creators. And so they're a first-time publisher, and they've done some crazy fan stuff in the past, and so I want to support them as much as I can. Let's see here. Tabletop Family. I will wait for a digital version of Frosthaven. Enjoy the digital version. The digital version of Gloomhaven is amazing. It's by far the way that Shira and I enjoy playing the most. Bramithra. Hello, Jesse. I hope you're doing well, taking stuff in strides. I was just streaming, and then YouTube said you pinged me. Why did YouTube said I pinged you? Did other people ping you potentially? I don't know. People have been mentioning you. Man, I like your content a lot. I know we need to get you down here, and we need to do some Kingdom Death stuff going sometime soon. And so I'm excited to be able to collaborate with you. I am impressed constantly by how you can keep track of the games that you're playing and how dedicated you are to my favorite game of all time. And so all the respect in the world, man. I also appreciate how patient you've been with me figuring out and getting organized this last season, because I know I've been wanting to collaborate with you and do stuff with you for a while now, and you've been really kind in your flexibility as I've been figuring out kind of my own stuff. So there are already videos about what not to do on your board game Kickstarter, but I don't know about the worst board game Kickstarter fails video. Maybe an idea. I'm open to the idea. I think it would probably go beyond the crowdfunding space or the board game space. But then again, I mean, maybe something worth looking into. So maybe I'll write that down. Meryl says defund Kickstarter is a unique spin. Yeah, defund Kickstarter. Like my defund Quackalope idea. Yeah. Meryl says, yeah, people misinterpret way too much. Yeah, there's a lot of it's really hard to communicate online. I think we all are aware of that, and then we all still stumble directly into it, and so live streaming is part of that, like part of being able to talk and communicate. But even here, it's very one-sided. I mean, I'm not hearing you all respond to me as much as I would like, and so yeah, we'll figure that out. Frederick, Brahmithra, we were just discussing targeting one game for creating content versus being multifaceted, and so your name came up for KDM Focus. Yeah, and he does great Kingdom Death content. Dur said, is Mythwind a game for you? It's sort of a endless game with no threat, no dead or something, and you can just go grinding up your location, skills, etc., with no rush at all, contrary to Kingdom Death. So, Dur, I just got a copy of Mythwind in. We have not got it to the table yet. I am looking forward to getting it to the table. We did a right for you, wrong for you back in the day when we were covering it originally, because it was such a conflicting game. I think the idea of what they're trying to do is extremely compelling. But back in the day with the prototype, it wasn't a perfect game for me. I thought the lack of challenge and the lack of fail made a lot of the stuff you were doing feel a little empty and a little pointless. And because it doesn't have the ease of play that something like Stardew Valley does, it's very hard to replicate that feeling in a board game. I actually think there's a game that just came out called Dwarflands. No Pun did a video on it, and I purchased it after that. It's a game with no end. It's a game where you always win. It's just about scoring points. I think they did that open-ended. You can always play and achieve objectives really, really well. And so it can be done. I'm curious to see what the public think of Mythwind, and I'm curious to see what I think of Mythwind as a finished game. We're going to be playing it hopefully soon and doing maybe a gameplay and a review on it or something like that. But I was very compelled by it, and based off my experience with it originally on the prototype, I don't think it'll quite be my type of game. Frederick says, Brahmithra, and I also appreciate all your content on it as a fellow survivor. Mayberry gave a smile. Frederick says, well, damn, super happy to hear about that possible collab. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get something arranged. I mean, one of the reasons why we have the studio space that we do is so we can bring people in and be able to host them and have a place for them to stay and be able to film some videos and collaborate. So that got delayed a little bit, of course, but hopefully over the course of the next year or so, we'll be able to bring publishers in and content creators and really anyone who wants to come be on the channel and talk about board games. So we'll figure all that out. I think we're nearly at the end of the chat. So if anyone wants to chime in who's watching at the moment, feel free to do so. I'm going to go ahead and open up some of my boxes and take a look at what I have in, talk about some of the prototypes we're going to be covering soon. And then, if the conversation hasn't expanded, go ahead and close this out and continue doing live streams, hopefully weekly. Tabletop family, you got a place to crash in Battle Creek, Michigan, if ever passing through. You can tell what my worst owned games are out of my 350, give or take. Hey, Tabletop family, you also are welcome to come to Cleveland. So, if you want to come up here and film some videos, we in about 4 or 5 months we should have guest rooms set up and pretty comfortable accommodations. So feel free. Dur, thanks for taking the time today. Wish you all the best. Have to leave now. All right, let's talk about the stuff that I have in, and then I'll follow up on comments. So I just got this in the mail. Fled from Oddbird Games. Oddbird is a publisher. These are not sponsored videos, but I'll let you know if anything's sponsored that I talk about right now. But nothing is. Nothing is. Fled comes from Mark Swanson, Oddbird, who made Feudum, and Feudum is maybe one of the most ambitious and remarkable Euro games I've ever played. They also have a reprint of that coming to GameFound, but I'm very excited to check this out. It's this idea of being locked up during the potato famine or something along those lines and escaping from prison, which is, it looks really good. There's a great how to play video on it out already. Etherstone from Thundergriff. I think Thundergriff's the right name. We just played this the other night. Really interesting head-to-head card battler where you draft your initial starting hand of cards and you fight for victory condition or points. So you had some really satisfying engines that you could build. And so I'm excited to cover that. Forge Flame, coming from my friends over at Lord Raccoon Games. Fun little helter-skelter squabble for resources and make it to the forge in the center of the board and build things before other people can build them to score points and get victory. Lots of fun interaction, good card progression. I'm excited to talk to him a little bit more about how the game's going to develop and what the final product's going to be. I've had a good time with that. Bad Trevor. I met with the publisher and the artist for this. It's a little party game in the style of some of your like favorite party games, right? Like Exploding Kittens, Uno, BS. It's got a lot of little mechanics for it, but the core concept is you're going to be utilizing all these very unique superhero powers and fighting and squabbling amongst each other. And you have the supervillain, which is Bad Trevor, and the super good guy, which I don't remember who they were, but I loved the art style. They have a real like an actual comic book artist doing all of the superhero character design, and the gameplay loop seems really fun. So hopefully maybe this next Tuesday we'll get it to the table with the game group and do some stuff. And then I've got 2 boxes, so I want to check out those and see what I have that has arrived. Frederick says, oh, by the way, you almost sold me on Kingdom Forlorn, but in the end I felt having Kingdom Death and Oathsworn already filled that niche. Maybe I'll reconsider once the game is out. Yeah, take a look at it once it arrives and see if it's going to be a game for you. I think they're extremely ambitious, very remarkable games. They can be a lot to table, though. I think they're probably, no pun and shelf side both talked about how they're some of the more difficult games that they've played, and I think Kingdom Forlorn is probably still going to be in that camp. So. I think I have a base pledge coming. I know I didn't do a full pledge. I didn't have the cash for it, but I might have a base pledge on the way. Frederick, and I'll be hopping on the second Kickstarter for Vampire the Masquerade. Vampire the Masquerade is excellent. Shira and Michael Matthews have been playing it off camera, and we filmed a few gameplay videos. We'll be releasing one tomorrow, actually, where I hop into their campaign and do a little bit more like later game stuff, and a side quest, so we don't spoil too much content. It's really good and really unique, though. I've seen some people criticizing it. I don't agree with them at all. Dur, and let me know if you are going to Essen, Germany for the Spiel, and you cannot get a proper accommodation. I might be able to offer something simple, sleeping couch with your own bathroom. Yeah, we won't. I really appreciate that. I'd love to make it to Essen. Essen usually falls around the Jewish holidays, and so it can be a hard convention to go to. I think West will be out there this year, so you might be able to connect with him. I don't think he needs your couch, but if I was not a married man who had recently become an observant Jew, I would take you up on that in a heartbeat. But I don't think we'll be making it out there. At least not this year. Maybe it'll align one time. I'm gonna grab a knife real quick so I can open these boxes, and let me know if you have any other thoughts or questions or stuff. Oh, all right. Let's take a look at what else arrived today. I'm gonna double check these to make sure I'm not spoiling anything when I open them up. Josh says, have you played do you enjoy any of the GMT games? I know the publisher lists some games. Space Explorers, right? That's a brilliant one. One of my top 10 list that I haven't played in years, so it might not be on my top 10 list anymore, although it probably should be. We also have what else? We have Dominant Species back there. We've played that. Hard to get to the table. We have played, and we do like quite a few of the GMT games. Some of them are also very hard to table without people who know them already. What do you have? Oh, okay. So this is another non-sponsored indie publisher. who I'm very excited to be doing stuff with. We have a lovely game called Bunny Boom. I met with him a while back, talked about the game. I love the artwork. Of course, it's absolutely adorable. I think it's it's Andrew Bosley's artwork. So I'm very happy to have that in. Excited to dive into it. Heat Miser, would you ever consider creating a game and getting it published? I would love to go into game design. I mean, absolutely. It's time consuming. It's a labor of love. It is oftentimes not financially profitable for first time publishers or small publishers. And so the balance of all that makes it a very hard thing to do. If I just had free time, and maybe one day I will, I would love to explore game design. I have a lot of cool ideas, and we've prototyped some things in the past, but never just my own thing. Josh Ford, oh my, bought Labyrinth, but never dared to touch it. All right, let's see what else. Oh, we have a bunny, very nice Bunny Boom playmat. Looks very good. So I should be playing that maybe this next week and getting some content filmed on it and sent over. And let's see what this last package is. I don't think any of these are going to be Amazon packages, so hopefully they'll all be board game related. What do we have? Aerodome. The mountains. Aerodome. I think this is like the Take Flight. This is a battling game about being in a cool little airplane battling game. We were soaring around the skies and using some interesting card play to shoot each other out of the air. Nice. I don't know as much about this one. I think this is one where the publisher reached out and asked if we were interested, and I looked into it enough to think that it was cool. And I said that I would get it to the table and at least do a quick first impressions or review on Quack & Co. So we'll get that played here over the next few weeks and do some content. So, okay. I think that's the live stream. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for engaging and talking and chatting. And we'll continue scheduling these out and doing more of them down the road. So I don't really know how to end these things, but I guess I'll say goodbye, and we will check in sometime soon. If you're watching and you see Vampire go up tomorrow, click on it, give a thumbs up, put a comment in the description. All that type of stuff is really valuable. We have Bill says thank you. Frederick says see you next time. Mr. Boom has a very nice Free Palestine that he's tossed in there. I appreciate it being antagonistic. Jim says it's always great to hear from you. Heat Miser, what game have you played the most this week? I've played Terraforming Mars the most this week and had a great time doing it. We play a lot of games. We play a lot of games across a lot of weeks, but oftentimes it's not the same game 72 times. But we hosted a game night last night where we were doing Terraforming Mars, and so we got that to the table. Madara actually might be. We played a few rounds of Madara plus filmed a few. So technically, in terms of the amount of individual plays, Madara might be the top. But that was all kind of one big long extended session. So Dur says, will do. Thank you and a good night. Heatmaster, I've been enjoying Sniper Elite lately. Very, very, very smart game. Very, very fun game. I'd like to play it against more people. Let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. All right. I'm going to sign out. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for chatting. And we will talk to you more next time. Tabletop says, I would probably be down. My almost 8-year-old would want to come. We dabble with some vids playing just for fun. Haven't done any of the last couple of months due to having a newborn. Congratulations on the newborn. And feel free to connect and send me a message. We'd be happy to, once we have stuff arranged here, we'd be happy to host you. And you have your own space. So, you'd have a bit of privacy. So, okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night, and we will see you next time.